I'm the sports professor, Rick Horrow. Welcome to Beyond the Scoreboard, Inside the Mega Events. It's a trillion-dollar sports business, to be sure, and about 50 to 60% of those dollars are wrapped up in the mega events, the championships, Super Bowls, All-Star Games, World Series, Wimbledon, tennis majors, golf majors, NASCAR championships, IndyCar championships, Ryder Cup. All of those too numerous to mention. I'm in my office to kick off the show, but I'm not here a lot. I'll be on the road on a weekly basis to bring you the inside tips from those major events. The balance sheets, who wins, who loses, the interviews, how you put on the events, and how you sustain them. This is all brought to you by Edelman Financial.
Money doesn't come with instructions. That's why we created Edelman Financial Services to help you with everything from college and retirement planning to managing your investments, helping you achieve retirement security. We're among the nation's top financial advisors. Come see how we can help you.
Sports Professor Rick Horrow inside the mega events. We're here at Spectrum Stadium on the campus of University of Central Florida. It's a Thursday night game. You'll see this a little later, but they play Temple. And by the way, as of now, 20 wins in a row. 3 years ago, they were 0-12. An incredible transformation, but it's also an incredible economic transformation as well. This is a big deal. It's all about the economics of the haves, the have-nots, and maybe partially the haves. And Texas, clearly, we've talked about them before. Their total football revenue is about $215 million. Texas A&M about $211 million. Ohio State $185 million. Michigan at the same number. Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Florida, LSU, and Auburn. We know those teams. They're well over nearly $150 million. Then in 57th place, the University of Central Florida, Golden Knights, $56 million in revenue. Don't hold a bake sale for them, but when you consider what they've done with what they have, it is truly remarkable. A 7-year, $126 million TV contract with ESPN. Thankfully, people say, they're at the back 2 years of that. About $2 million distributed for each team in the American Athletic. It's compared, by the way, when you look at some of the numbers, about $50 million expected in the Pac-12 in a couple of years. About $38 million now, about $51 million per team in the Big Ten, about $40 million in the Big 12, and about $40 million in the ACC when those numbers come up. And most importantly, this team is doing it in the classroom as well. A 93% graduation rate, which is the highest of public universities in the state of Florida and among the top 5 or 6 nationwide. It is truly a remarkable situation. But it's going to get better, and there are ways to deal with it. We'll deal with it with one of their top athletic executives, and we'll also talk about revenues in just a minute. Spectrum Stadium, University of Central Florida campus, a little bit before kickoff. Don't worry, it's a while before kickoff, fully 2 hours before. You don't see anybody in the seats. The black and gold cabana is the area where the VIPs go and spend money. You see a lot of the players on the field. But look at what they've done as far as raising revenue in a fairly short period of time. Remember, in 2015, this team was 0-12. They've won 20 straight at press time, as they say. What's the turnaround about? Well, obviously good coaching. Their coaches departed for Nebraska. Their new coaches come in and filled the bill. But a few things. This stadium, Spectrum Stadium, about 40,000 people a game, 47,000 when they play USF. And donors have increased 137% since 2013, since the membership campaign began. What does it mean? New stadium, more money, more donors, and the like. Then, also, the nation's only unbeaten team. Well, they weren't recognized in the BCS, but they sure parlayed that into a very successful marketing campaign. 23,000 season tickets, about 8,000 increase. They've sold about 91% of their inventory. And as I showed you, that Tower Club, the Cabana Club, a great place to generate some additional revenue. They've also had a 5,000% increase in online sales. 90% of that is what they call national championship merchandise, and who can disagree? Finally, on the field, they got about $1.5 million from the Peach Bowl, a residual for thrashing Auburn. And then the future revenue sources, well, the Spectrum facility, Spectrum Stadium, that's a deal tied into television, but it's also cash. Husky Stadium was turned into Alaska Air years ago with a $4.1 million commitment a year for 10 years. And everybody said, yeah, we'll name these stadiums after some of our benefactors, but at $41 million, who can afford not to do this kind of deal? So here's the situation as you think of it. This is definitely haves and have-nots. But the bottom line is, as the American Athletic and as other schools morph into a situation where they're really looking to generate some revenue in the future, I wouldn't be surprised if this program becomes a bellwether. In the top 40, yeah, maybe even a little bit higher. But let's remember that as the Power Five joust for position against the next set, and maybe in a couple of years, if there is a playoff situation that extends beyond the four, one of the situations that will argue for that is the American and the Big Sky and other teams or conferences really need a meaningful seat at the table. And if this team were to go undefeated and not get there, but get another New Year's Bowl, that'll give them fodder. Those decisions, by the way, are not made on the field. They're not even made in the broadcast booth or the punditry area. They're made with solid long-term corporate and television contracts. But look for that, whether it's a 6 team with 2 teams getting buys, whether it's 8 teams. Bottom line is this team and this program can't afford to be shut out. And that's a fact. Rick Horrow, Spectrum Stadium, University of Central Florida, the Gold Knights, live at Mega Events. See you soon. Athletic Director Extraordinaire, it says pedigree family, but you're doing it on your own. Danny White, how are you?
Doing great. Excited about this game tonight against Temple.
Absolutely. We taped this, and it's going to evergreen. So 20 in a row may become 25. And so, first of all, the whole notion of the national championship defense and the marketing plan around it and the increased merchandise and the donors, it's a great marketing device, right? Very successful.
It's really rallied, I think, our alumni base nationally and certainly the community of Orlando. We sold 10,400 new season tickets going into this year, so our fan base is growing really fast, and our whole university community is excited about the success of our football team for sure.
Is there as you budget and as you plan, there's always the discussion about Power Fives and everybody else. How do you do your 15, 20-year plans when next year is up for uncertainty as well, from a business perspective, a planning perspective?
Yeah, we're scheduled already next year. We don't believe that there's a Power 5 around here. We think if there's a Power anything, it's a Power 6.
Right. That's Oresco's term, basically, right? Is that kind of?
I think our teams across the conference have shown that on the field over 5 years. But next year we have we return our game to Pittsburgh for a non-conference Power 6 game. We have Stanford at home. I'm working on schedules for 20 and 21 and beyond right now. Certainly the more success our team has, candidly, it is harder to schedule.
And how important is the Spectrum Stadium and the 7,000 seats and the dimensions of this place as far as revenue and also ease of schedule and credibility?
It's really important. Our university has made significant investments in building an on-campus stadium and launching a Division I athletic department. You do that to build the pageantry and revelry and alumni affinity, all the traditional things that come out of an on-campus college football environment. And you'll see that tonight. You'll see 12,000 students having a great experience. So having a good home schedule is very important to us.
Just commercially, again, business show, business perspective. So I guess Air Alaska kind of broke the mold, and then United Airlines, and everybody was talking about the blasphemy of naming a facility after a corporate sponsor. There's enough room for the donor and the sponsor at the same time. Where is that whole notion going, and was there a problem here, or was it the right answer with Spectrum?
Since we opened the stadium, it was Bright House Network Stadium. Right, Bright House got bought by Spectrum, and we're proud to have Spectrum's name on our stadium. It's a big-time growing brand in Orlando, but obviously nationally. I think it's a part of doing business. We have to generate revenue to support our student athletes. We make money in college athletics really off of, in most instances, 2 sports. For us, it's football and men's basketball. But then we spend dollars in an egalitarian way across 16 sports to provide a world-class student athlete so we can be competitive and compete for national championships.
And I assume you're proud of the graduation rate relative to other schools, not only in Florida, but around the country.
No question. Any academic metric you look at, our student athletes are competing in the classroom. GPA, academic progress rate, we're really proud of their accomplishments.
So next economic frontier, 2 issues that are probably
distant. So gambling and alcohol, where are colleges and where are you all in both of those?
We currently allow alcohol in our premium spaces.
Yeah.
And we are expanding premium spaces. It's what the corporate community here in Orlando wants. We're sold out in all of our club seats. We just added loge seats this year. They sold out almost immediately. The field cabanas, which we did last year, and then on the other end zone this year, is a really unique product. So there's alcohol available in all the premium areas. Our philosophy is, one, when half of the student body isn't of age, we don't feel comfortable offering it up to the whole stadium because of the students. And we also want to create a family-friendly atmosphere. We want 8-year-olds and 12-year-olds in our stadium, and sometimes people don't handle it as responsibly as we'd like.
Well put. So Mississippi, Associate, AD, Buffalo, here. Those are 3 dynamic, different kind of programs. SEC, Buffalo, and here. What compare and contrast?
What they all have in common is they all had significant upside. When we were at Ole Miss, we talked about, if you want to be competitive in the SEC, here's what you need to do as a fan base. And the fan base really stepped up, and we built a lot of facilities. And the plan there was, you're already in the conference you want to be in, but you hadn't been competitive. And let's talk about how we do that. At Buffalo, the flagship university of the state of New York, there's just tremendous upside at that university, and I really enjoy the work we're doing there. But having said that, there's not more potential at any athletic department in the country than this one right here, because of our inherent competitive advantages from a recruiting standpoint. Obviously, weather, a university that really cares and is growing. And it's the fastest growing university in the fastest growing city in America, just surrounded by talent in every sport that we play. So I get really excited and energized about working with the community and working with our donors and sponsors to build something, and that's what we're doing here.
That was the best pitch in the history of the world, ladies and gentlemen, and all he got out of this is a little more intense international awareness. No donors. No check is here. Final question for you.
I was about to make the pitch. We need
no,
you
don't
to step
bother.
up.
Yeah, don't bother. Go do that down the hall.
Yeah.
So here's the other issue, which is really important. Family competition, Thanksgiving dinner. How do you prorate whether you or your dad win? So a net revenue increase in Duke, and then you got your brother with basketball in Florida. How do you guys decide who comes out on top?
You know, we had FAU here earlier this year.
Yeah.
My brother Brian just got the athletic director job at FAU, and it was miserable for both of us. We don't compete with each other on things related to our jobs. Now, whether it's darts or beach volleyball or something like that, we're very competitive. But we talk a lot and just bouncing ideas off each other to help each other out.
And in all seriousness, your dad has done an amazing job at Duke. It's now football power, and it's incredible.
It's amazing the job David Cutcliffe has done there. Yeah. It's just been fun to watch, and they've had a lot of donors step up. It's a great story of how philanthropy and philanthropic investments can improve facilities and allow a program to sustain success, and that's exactly what they've done.
Duke, UCF, FAU scheduling down the road?
No, I don't want to play that.
Look, there was one thing that's very clear. That's a no from this guy.
Yeah, we're playing at FAU to return that game next year.
Yeah, well, that's a different story. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thanks, God.
Yeah.